All for the
people who co-write tests get a portmanteau, it seems.
Or as Hollywood calls them, a couple name. Mander.
A team name.
It's a team name. See, that's what we did. We just wrote all about, I don't know what Melanie, Maeve, Lance, and John would have been.
Well, if you can make a portmanteau out of 1, 2, 3, 4 names, then you are free to do so.
I just noticed now that John McConkey hasn't put his name down, but I know he's doing test case 7, so it's really important that people do identify.
Yeah.
So he can. So Chapman can do 8.
A test.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen now. Okay.
Right. Anyway.
Yeah. Sorry, I just.
Sorry, I started that, and it was amusing at the moment. I hope it doesn't actually interfere with work.
I think who are these volunteers?
Yep, we do not have a Mander. It's true. What day of the week is today? Does anybody know?
Wednesday.
Hold on the box.
The camera's not working. I'm going to try restarting. That'll get back on, I think.
All right.
I really liked Quentin's training yesterday. I found it so helpful.
Yay.
Oh yeah, that was nice.
I just I've never ever done it like that. Like I just got thrown. We used Assemble once, using from Word documents, not PDFs.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I got into this project, it was just straight from a PDF, go. And then they never actually did the Hello World tutorial. So it was really helpful to just take a step back and figure out how do you do stuff.
Yeah. Spotting syntax errors. That's what I'm thinking. Well, that is among many. That is one among many of the things that is a struggle with new languages, period, but with programming.
I've got a toothache, so I'm really grumpy. I'm sorry.
Oh no! Oh yeah, I heard you say something like that. What? Are you seeing a dentist? I don't know what the procedure is now.
Yeah, I think you're supposed to see a dentist to get tooth. I think, but it's in my gum. I don't know. So I'm just gonna. I'm the power of positive thinking. I'm just trying to.
That's not how medicine works. I hate to be the one to tell you this. I know you've lived a charmed life so far.
Yeah, I really hate the dentist. Oh, and then he tells you something's wrong, and then there's drilling and.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think there'll be less drilling I know that's hard to tell when you're in the seat, but yeah.
And also they're so close to you, right? I don't even know if they're open.
Some of them have limited hours open. I have a little crack. I called my dentist. He said, you can come in and we have it open on Mondays. And I said, is it an emergency? And he said, no, you could let it go for a while. And I was like, that sounds terrifying, but I suppose that's what I'll do.
I don't know if Quentin's coming back, guys.
Yeah, his video wasn't working.
Seems like maybe more is not working than his video. There we go.
Speak of the devil.
Nice.
I'm joking. Okay. How's everyone doing? Good?
I think so.
I was just saying, Quentin, that I really liked your training yesterday. I found it really helpful.
Oh, good.
To go back to square one, because I kind of just jumped in the in a little bit in the deep end and didn't know why we did things, or so it's nice to have some formal. Yeah, I really liked it. It was very helpful. So that was that, and the feedback that I got from other people was also the same. No one complained, so good, I guess. And we'll talk about TRO and 209A. David and I have a meeting after this where we're going to talk about brain dump of knowledge and all that kind of stuff, and then maybe we have to. Is Friday scheduled for our kind of face to handover, or our? Yeah. because I think there's certain things that we need to discuss, and things like, you know, value to volunteers, and maybe the format of the stand-up meeting, because I just felt with Michael yesterday that he was really thrown in the deep end, and it shouldn't be, you know, volunteers should be able to come onto these calls. And I think this is probably just a phase 1 thing that we've kind of just been really deep in the weeds, but okay. Yeah. He has filled in the questionnaire, and I've sent him the volunteer guide, so I just need to check it. You said he's going to be available next weekend. Okay. Oh, yeah.
It's great.
Cool.
Oh, fantastic.
Cool. Awesome.
And maybe 2 people. Yeah, I don't know, on one of those days.
Let's see how it goes getting them on board. I'm excited.
Yes, so this is why, well, this is one of the primary motivations behind Maeve and I doing the brain dump, so that I can help coordinate and jump in and help out with that process as well.
That'll be great.
So yeah, looking forward to that.
Yeah, so that's what we're going to have, that call this afternoon, and then I think that the Friday meeting will be to talk about how we're going to transition and what phase 2 is going to look like for all of us. Is that when that's going to happen? Okay, so everyone's on board for that.
Mm-hmm.
And then where we're at with the TROs, that the new test case scenarios have been written. And we ran through 2 tests. We're kind of doing like, I don't know what it's probably called. I just know of it as like multi-level marketing, where like one person learns something and then they pass it on to the next person.
Pyramid scheme.
Okay, no.
Well, that's what we've been describing as an analogy.
Yeah.
But,
A phone tree. It reminds me of a phone tree from elementary school.
Okay, perfect. That's I don't like referring to it as a pyramid scheme.
Or the game telephone.
Well, the problem
yeah.
with that, telephone or whisper down the lane, we used to call it. So it ended up being something completely different by the time it got to the end of the lane.
I know,
that's the game, right?
That's what I'm saying. But yes.
So I think what we did yesterday is we had basically, Michelle took Melanie and Chandler through the test writing on the new template for the TRO, and then Chandler taught Alex, and Melanie took me, Lance, and John through that. So now, and Melanie, we recorded Melanie's one, and she was sensational in teaching. She really, really was a fantastic teacher.
That's great.
I mean, like,
Really glad to have her.
So she's the one with Judah. So I let her know that, and I think she's going to be willing to help teach more people and get more people on board. So she could be quite a useful volunteer in onboarding new people. And so we wrote a couple of tests yesterday, and I think Chandler's going to finish up 2 today, and then we're ready to move on to child support testing. Then we need to review the TRO tests. Right now, I know how to do that. Michelle knows how to do that. Who else? Does anybody else know?
I bet we could get Melanie up on that quickly. And Kate, you might be able to do some of it as well.
Yeah, I know how. I'd rather not do stuff.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. Good to know.
Well, if we're desperate, but
No.
I would rather
Okay.
not.
I think that, once I finish my call with David, I can get through a fair few amount of tests, reviewing the TRO and seeing if there's any issues that are, making comments and remarks and stuff like that, and just how we've been doing, how I did it on the previous tests. Is that, Michelle?
Yeah, that sounds
Okay.
good to me.
And then we move on to child support tests, and then we are going to have to review those tests, though. Was it just something that you didn't want to review TRO tests, or just that you don't want to review any tests?
I'd just rather not do TRO. I'm trying to not do TRO stuff.
Yeah, no, perfect. That's
see.
understandable.
Yeah.
So you could still help out with the child support. I'm just foreseeing, once we have those tests done, or even as those tests start getting done, we are going to need to review those, because people are catching errors that are good, like the TRO one, Michelle, where Chandler caught that it's when you don't put in a cell phone number, it puts cell in brackets, stuff like that.
Would you
So
want to maybe reach out to the Housing Coalition and see if you could just get some housing advocates to do some testing?
I mean,
Or were
that
you
sounds
not
great
quite
to
at that
me.
point?
We had Laura Kamara at one point too. Do you think she'd be
Yeah.
willing to jump back in? We don't have very many housing forms. This is like such a really straightforward one, but I think we'll probably start to have more in the next phase.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of the simpler forms
So you
that
might
have
want
high
to
impact.
develop a sort of a cadre of housing advocates at some point. I mean, I don't know how far along the line in terms of testing you are, but that would be the thing to think about.
It depends. Like, I think it depends on kind of what caliber of person you're talking about and what kind of testing you're talking about. So like, we're still in the beginning processes of creating the testing process. We're in the beginning stages of creating the testing process. So if we don't want someone coming in while we're going, okay, the house is a little bit on fire, but
Yeah, right, yeah,
try pouring a bucket of water over here,
yeah.
then those aren't, right? That's kind of where we are.
You're not ready for housing advocates yet.
Okay. That, I mean, yeah, I'm happy
we're
to
still
take
working out the testing process.
send us, but
Yeah.
but we're getting much closer to a
Mm-hmm.
stable place, which is awesome.
Yeah, like last night, the test template that we created was really good, and with Melanie's assistance in explaining how to do it, we managed to get through it, and I think have a thing that's a lot more sound than the test that we had last week or a week or two ago. The results that we're getting are more accurate and better. So once we finish with the TRO, I'll review those ones that have been finished today and yesterday, and then we'll move on to the 209A testing.
Yeah.
Sure. And so then if we do need reviews, can we ask, Caroline, Kate, if we show you, or do we just do a first pass, Michelle? Do we do a first pass of them and see if there's any issues?
I think I want to say no because I don't want to do more stuff. But if I'm going to answer honestly, I think we should do a first pass, identify what issues are test process related, and then right and but I think I think most reviews can be done without any knowledge of the subject matter. All you need to do is determine whether whether it's a test process issue, whether it's an actual form issue, whether it needs to be reported, whether it has been reported. So you need to follow up on whatever needs to get done, but you don't need to know anything about the form itself or about the code for that matter. You just need to know that the test process has, finished its cycle on each of the items that have been brought up.
I will say I did something which maybe I shouldn't be doing, which is I've been checking off issues as I fix them without committing them yet. But we're doing a huge influx thing for the, hey, I'm just highlighting it now.
All right, thank you.
And normally that wouldn't be a problem, but we are doing a bunch of changes to the affidavit of care and custody. So it might be that there are going to be some closed issues which are closed on my branch that are not going to be available to anybody, because the care and custody stuff has to be completely done before I can commit that change to the main branch.
I'm glad you said that, because when I was going through, I noticed you had closed issues and I was still seeing the things.
Yeah.
So I thought,
but even to the dev branch should be getting the latest updates for things. Then the testing branch can get the more stable releases, and the production branch gets the completely stable releases. That's generally the cycle that I'm familiar with.
It's a mistake that the problem is that
I don't mind
some of the changes in the same branch.
I don't mind the things that did happen. I'm just trying to plan for the future and figure out if there's a process we can hit where we do get the updates, or where you don't close the issues until they're in the inactive branches, right? In the branches that we're using. But I mean, also, as long as you don't mind the issues showing up again and us not knowing to close them.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, mostly it was this morning I could work on a bunch of little issues, and then now I'm ready to do the affidavit of care and custody, but it's in the same branch, which is problematic. Probably should have been opening a new branch for the big change.
Right. Okay.
But
Maybe just add a column and say this issue is fixed by the developer, but it's not in some branch.
Our testers are not going to be seeing that. I mean, we can put that in the remark, but also we won't know. We're not like watching what issues Quentin closes. There's two, like, at least I can't keep track of all that information. So I can't, if I want to make this my complete and total job, I still won't be able to keep track of that information.
yeah, I think the
we're
thing
just
is we'll
gonna
get
have
some
to-
duplicate issues. We would get some duplicate issues anyway. But it's mostly for Kate. If I closed it, it's fixed in the branch that I didn't upload. For other people, they're probably not going to be checking the.
Lily, if you can figure out a way that testers can be more looped into the process so that they do know when issues have been fixed, then that's like, if you do think of that, that would be very useful. Also, I do want to say that a bug getting closed doesn't mean it's actually gone. So, right, because then it needs to be tested. Like that's
true too.
That's the testing
Yeah.
cycle. But you can close it as a because you addressed it in a branch, and that's fine. And then we'll bring it up again if it's still a problem. But you know, then it's hard if we don't.
And it's a matter of saying, oh, is this a duplicate because they were testing the wrong thing? Or is it a matter of it actually wasn't fixed in this edge case, even though it was fixed? Yeah, for now, we might get some duplicates, but mostly Kate had put a bunch of issues in that I closed just to try to mark my progress as I was working on them.
Okay, very cool. All right. Next. Or maybe, so, I mean, I think with the testing I think we're moving along. We're just doing our thing and need to keep doing our thing. I've lost track of other stuff, but I did do the continue button text and a couple other small things. And I've been going through old issues. So I might surface a couple old issues when I feel you have like a breath to take, but I really can't tell. So I might just surface them while you're in the middle of something else.
That's fine. Yeah, my thought was I'd be able to commit the affidavit of care and custody, but it's too big of a change. So I'll try to focus on finishing that up today. Okay. So at least we don't have this issue of code on my machine, but not in a branch that other people are testing quite yet.
But also, I don't believe we're testing the affidavit of care and custody right now. No. So affect our tests if you merge it into, like, for example, you can merge it into a separate branch and I can just pull from that branch. Right now I'm connecting them to a branch on my playground, not to the server. Okay.
So if I made changes to other forms, it shouldn't affect that because you're running them as isolated tests. Is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll commit it to a new branch and I'll call it. Even though it's mixing in some other changes, I'll call that branch something like 209A new affidavit of care and custody.
Sure.
That's what the real change is there.
Okay.
Okay. So I think that's an update on testing. I think that, you know, what Michelle said, a point about bugs, they're not fixed. They're when they're closed, it doesn't necessarily mean they're gone. We need to run the next test through. So we're gonna probably do that with the TRO. I mean, so say I review the things tonight and all the tests get run at least once, then if we find any major bugs, we don't, then we will do the second run through, right? Is this correct, Michelle?
Yeah.
And then
second run through after the code is changed, the second run through the same tests?
Yeah.
I think if we do a run through of tests and the code doesn't get changed, then there's no need to run it the tests the second time.
Yeah. So it's only if there's a code change that we'll do the test again.
Yep. When the code changes, we need new tests. That's okay. We don't need new tests unless the code changes.
Okay. Then I don't think there's anything else more from me. Does anybody else have anything they want to raise? I mean, David?
We are at the point where we are now pushing papers back and forth, arguing about subject-verb disagreement.
Oh, hey.
Okay.
Cool.
So
that sounds
I'm glad you all took that as a good thing. It's a good thing. It's changing is's to r's and r's to is's.
Yeah.
We're very close.
Do you ever do the shall will fight?
What?
Yeah.
That's substantive. That's not
Yeah.
just, a
I know,
grammatical
not
error.
verbs, not yeah, but it's just shell will throughout the whole thing. Some people don't understand the difference. So
Nuance.
Oh, well,
The
we're
nuance in
lawyers
there.
all the way up on both sides. It's the courts and the law school. So it's everyone who looks at it's a lawyer.
Okay.
Fine.
Yeah.
Quentin, do you have anything you want to add? Or are you just laughing?
No, I was just laughing.
Okay.
Good for you.
Anyone else? No, we're all good.
I have
Lily?
Yeah, I just want to get back to those forms. No, not forms. The addenda files that I
Yeah,
was
thank you.
working on. Before they call, I barely just finished this files, the code and all those changes. I don't know how to test them, and I think it's probably not needed.
So, I mean, the QA team would test them. So
Right.
that is, we need to test that the right outputs are going to the right places and that placeholders aren't there at unintended times, right? So, but that will be, we will add that to the PDF test.
Okay,
We're
good.
struggling a bit with the PDF test. If anybody has ideas for or wants to discuss that, that would be useful to us, actually.
Because the PDF is now being flattened, and we're trying to figure out, like, this is what we were talking about last night, Kate. It's like the idea has just passed my thing where we now generate a PDF that's been flattened, so you can't see the form fields. And it's fine on the TRO where the form fields are relatively self-explanatory and there's not that many. But on forms, when you're doing the entire 209A, for example, that's going to be a nightmare to check. So trying to figure out a way, Michelle proposed doing numbers on each form field. But that's going to be challenging with, say, defendant information where the fields themselves are really small.
And it's going to be a million fields as well. It is.
Yeah.
And so just one number for each of them. I mean, it would have to be one number per page, and then for a checker, just to keep track of those numbers it's not a great human task. Like humans are not great at it.
So the goal is to help people identify which field has something wrong in by name so that we can get the right fix, basically?
No, it's also just for people to check that what's supposed to be in that field is correct. So that, and then, so when they run, initially before it was flattened, and I'm glad it was flattened because that's obviously very important. It's just, it means the testing process is going to have to change a little bit. Because initially what would happen is that they would just
do so effectively, right?
Well, we could just not flatten it on the dev or test server if we want.
So that's what we discussed. But
we prefer to keep things as similar in the testing environment as the environment that will be live. Already the fact that we can't send, test emails to courts, like that's the major difference right now. And already that makes, obviously we can't, but that makes me nervous. Because it's a difference.
Right.
And a difference in a crucial part of the process, right? So like getting the PDFs right is fairly important. And I actually, because I know the code, flattening is not going to change what the PDFs do. And yet it still makes me nervous. But we can unflatten. I mean, for dev, we can unflatten. And it just doesn't make me nervous. The more they diverge, the more nervous, the less fidelity we get.
What if we just pass a special flag for only when you want to test the PDF output? Or is that part of every test?
Every test that goes to the PDF generating stage.
Okay.
So if it's a test that you can't get past a certain stage without doing something, it won't generate a PDF and you don't test.
Most tests are basically testing both the behavior of the form and the PDF.
Makes sense.
You're putting in different inputs.
Okay.
But we can try it. We can make this one in particular a PDF, an unflattened. We can try and make that difference. I just don't know. Like I've been thinking about it, and unless someone else has come up with something brilliant, I don't know another way to chase down the fields. Because
Well, it
that's
feels
also
like
going
it's
to be
smaller
less.
than the numbers, right?
Huh?
Unless you were thinking the numbers would be on the live final form too.
I mean, that would be very helpful, but I don't, is that, are judges going to want to see that? Is that,
No.
so
they
that
want to see
didn't
what the
seem
form they're used to.
that didn't seem realistic to me.
Yeah.
So,
But also, sorry, another thing that I want to mention is that we wanted to do this without having to go and number. I mean, like, Michelle, how long did it take you to number, like,
I
the
mean,
TRO, which
that's a fair point.
which is relatively, as I said, I keep going back to the fact that that's a relatively simple form with relatively few form fields, and it still took, like, it was like 33 or something form fields that were numbered.
39.
And it's also, okay, it was also just the thing of comparing. You're then going to have the numbered PDF comparing with the PDF that you've generated compared with it's just like, so.
Because the numbered PDF needs to be blank. Then there's the PDF that has the correct answers. Then there's the PDF that you've generated, right?
Mm-hmm.
What if
So
you use something like online diff checkers? So you've got the PDF, you've got your key, your blank PDF that has a name field, so you can identify it. But then you use something like online diff checker, and you compare the flattened PDF that you've produced with the PDF that's supposed to be there, and then you can quickly see if they match. And if they don't match, then you can look that field up on your key.
on your numbers.
So
Well,
I'm just
or
looking
you're
at
just
the
you
checker.
basically you have the PDF, then you look at the PDF in the PDF editor, so you know what the names of those fields are, or you have a list.
I'll see if the diff checker is something that is definitely something to look into. There are complications there with PDFs and diffs, but that's something I can definitely look into.
Yeah, I've never tried it before, but I use online diff checker for other things all the time, and I think instead that they do.
We won't be able to if we can. There are complications, and but that's a good lead, and I will work on whether there's a process there that can work. I really like that idea.
It's a really good idea, Caroline, that we actually just automate that to some extent. Automate the PDF checking. Yeah. I don't know why I never thought of that. Sorry.
No, there's no blame to throw here.
This is why we bring it to the brain trust.
This is why we bring it to the brain trust, right? This is why we don't say nothing. Which I know it spends other people's time as well, but y'all have come up with solutions to various problems at different times. So I really appreciate that. That's a great lead. I don't know if it will work out depending on how we go about this, but I think it's quite possible there's a solution there. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Caroline. Okay, is there anything else that anybody wants to raise? Lily, I think we might have gone off topic from what you initially said about the addenda.
You were saying addenda.
So,
right.
So we will be testing the addenda in the same way that we test the PDFs. Does that answer the question that you were?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I just made sure that I don't see any syntax error for my code.
Sure.
In the YAM file. So, and then Quentin, there are a few, about three fields. You thought it's a table that we need to add to addenda, but when I look at the code, the questions are asked individually, like child 1, child 2, child 3, instead of saying children as a dictionary or list or something that it goes through a loop. So
I
suspect. In that case,
I think you might be seeing the attachment code and not the way we gather the information. But are you sure?
Yeah, the attachments code says child 1, child 2, child 3. We didn't make provisions for the addenda because we didn't have a way to put them on the addenda. So we can write the code to put them on the addenda.
So right now, as the
iterate.
way it is, I don't see any room for me to add it into addenda. That's why I didn't do them. So at the end of the day, there are 5 forms instead of 6 forms that have addenda.
So which one is it, Lily? Do you know? Maybe I could look at it and it won't take too long, but can figure it out.
Yeah, I think so. Just hold a second.
I'm always like,
child
let's
support.
not.
Child support. It says list of children, but when I look at the form, it has 4 lines which ask for names. Anyway, shouldn't be too long. looks like it fits.
Yeah, no, so we have a table. It's all support children is the variable that needs to go into a table if there are more than 4 children.
Okay, so maybe I didn't look at the right field name then. I take another look.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So that's one thing. The other thing is in the addendum file, I didn't do any heading or anything. I only put identification. Say this is for affidavit, for example, and then I just has a loop for the list of the fields. Do you want me? I just don't know how to edit the title stuff.
Sure. If you look at the addendum for page 1, that'll show the way that we came up with for formatting the heading.
So you want me to copy those and just mimic it, put into the other
Yeah,
ones?
that would
Okay.
be great. Yep.
All right, I'll do that. And then after that, I can push into my branch, and then where do I push it? I mean, then I need to do a pull request, right?
Yep. Do a pull request to the 209A StitchUp branch.
StitchUp branch.
The StitchUp branch, I think we're on master now.
Oh, well, you could. Yeah, that's right. We still have the 209A StitchUp branch, but.
I wanted to talk to you about deleting that, and then I forgot. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah,
we should.
So just put it in master then, and I'll stop. I don't think it matters. That branch doesn't matter anymore.
Did I not delete it?
Well, I still would have it in my local playground the way the branches work.
Oh, I see. Got it.
Would I be able to say I want to push into master?
So make a new branch, then push that to GitHub. Then in GitHub, make a pull request on master.
Merge.
Okay.
And don't merge, just make a pull request.
Okay,
and
so
then someone else will check the pull requests, and then they will merge.
All right.
Okay.
Then do I pick up some names to say, and you need to approve or something?
You can ask Nonprofit Techie, which is Quentin, or you can ask for Plocket, which is me, or both.
I do both.
Sure.
There goes our anonymity.
I know it's recorded now. Well, when they can parse sound, when AI can parse sound, nothing's safe.
Oh my golly, they automatically transcribe these.
Caption it.
They're not so great, but they do automatically transcribe them. Helps for discovery.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? All right.
Okay. I think, is that everything, guys? Team? Yeah. No one else has anything else?
I
think that is. I'm just noticing I made a change to the wrong file.
And I'm just sending off I've just been editing a copy of the MOU and then kind of send it off again.
I'm super excited about to see the feedback for the effect of the feedback on the 209A. I think I'm so excited for where this project is at right now. I guess what I'm trying to say. Just wanted to say that.
Can I ask you a quick question, Michelle, while we're on this?
Sure. I'm afraid.
No. Lance
Should we be recording?
Yeah, no, you
Should
can
we
stop
recording.
All right,
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and stop recording. Not needed for the recording.